and welcome to the very last episode of IELTS Face Off Season 6 Junior. And I have somebody you definitely love, and I do too. She is right here.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas
and a Happy New Year.
Oh,
hi.
Hi.
Oh my God, welcome back.
We spent the entire day doing it together. It was fun.
Okay, so we've seen a lot of each other, but on different screens because we haven't been hosting together. Yes. But since it's a very special episode, so we're going to be talking to each other, and this episode's topic is going to be
self-study, and we're gonna meet a really special guest. He's young, he's famous, he's talented.
It's more than a year, right?
The last episode of Season 6 ended on 30th of December 2020, and yet only in August 2021 did we have a chance to see each other again in Season 7. Hello everyone, lovely audiences of IVO Season 7. This season is very special because we are filming right in the middle of the pandemic in Directive 16, and we're producing the show fully online. So I'm joining you this season fully from my home.
I'm in my comfy chair. COVID-19 has had far-reaching repercussions on all facets of our lives, as well as the economy. By the end of 2021, about 100 million people are expected to have fallen back into extreme poverty, which most affects the most vulnerable groups: women, children, and unskilled and informal workers.
We humans are the most affected by COVID-19 due to lack of face-to-face interaction and communication. That is why it's essential to adapt to change with new kinds of communication, new kinds of television, and new habits.
Online studying, online meeting, even online dating become the new normal, just like we're filming the new season right now.
We have so much more time to spend with and focus on our loved ones.
But we also experiencing anxiety, worries, even depression and uncertainties about the future. When will COVID-19 pandemic end?
What is the new normal, and when will it happen? Post-COVID, our lives will be changed forever. And what are some of the things that we need to prepare ourselves for the new normal? We need mental health. Let's continue to write our dreams and not let COVID-19 hinder all of our productivity. Let's continue to work, study, be greater, learn, love, take care of others, take care of ourselves, and be inspired by all the humanity that exists within the COVID-19 pandemic. So are you ready for the next journey?
IFO Nightly Show Season 7 is slated to inspire and provide you with all the necessary information that you will need for this very exciting journey. Welcome
to Season 7
of the IFO
Nightly Show.
And it starts right now.
Quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take 1.
Welcome back to the IFO Nightly Show. I'm your host, Tùng Đặng, and this season is going to be an extremely socially distanced one. So obviously we filmed the footage for the trailer way before Directive 16 here in Hanoi, and now we've taken appropriate measures, and we're going to film in a very COVID-19 friendly, COVID-19 appropriate setting. So you're actually watching me in the comfort of my own home. And usually, you know, the other hosts and I are pretty socially distanced on the set of IFO, but this season we're going to be extra socially distanced It's not going to be 2 meters between us anymore. It's going to be, was it 1,500,000 meters? So I'd say we're pretty safe. So please welcome my fellow host on IFO Nightly Show, a permanent fixture of the IFO franchise since day one, Miss Phoebe.
Hey! Hi, what unique times, right? Hi, Tùng Đặng. It's great to see your wall. It's the first time I've been able to witness your wall. We're both filming from home right now. Are you at home at the moment?
I am at home, and I gotta say, my wall definitely pales in comparison to yours. Yours is so much more exciting. You know, you got some art going on. The back, you know, it's backlit. It's very professional. Mine, it's like this separation is the only visual interest that I have.
Well, it's so interesting because, you know, I can't believe we're doing this. The world has been doing it in 2020, and we think we didn't have to do it, and now we're doing all of this. And I remember as we were starting to shoot the season, you know, my flight was canceled because Ho Chi Minh City basically had an outbreak. You know, this was earlier in May, right?
Yeah, this season it's different, that's for sure. So there's something quite different about the season too. It's because we're very honored to be sponsored by the Australian government, and our season, the theme is Shine with Australia. So we're going to take a grand tour of the country. And here to expound on the virtues of the land down under, please welcome our first representative, and I dare say the representative of Australia to Vietnam, the ambassador, Robin Moody.
Thanks very much, Tung and Phoebe, for having me on the show, and I'm very excited to be part of this project and to be speaking to you this evening.
As we're starting to talk about Australia, and the key message of the season is Shine with Australia, I'm just actually really curious to you know, ask you a couple of questions. You know, one of those things is definitely, we're always interested when we look at diplomats like yourself, is what your journey to Vietnam is like. You know, how did you learn to speak Vietnamese? What's your story about that?
Vâng, tôi có thể nói tiếng Việt vì tôi đã học tiếng Việt rất lâu. Tôi bắt đầu học tiếng Việt vào năm 1992 ở thành phố Melbourne khi tôi bắt đầu làm việc ở Bộ Ngoại giao rồi. Như vậy đây là lý do tôi có thể nói một ít gốc thôi ở thành phố Adelaide ở Nam Úc, và tôi ở đây cho đến khi tôi 7 tuổi. Sau đó 4 tuổi chuyển sang thành phố khác ở bang New South Wales, ở thành phố Newcastle để làm việc, và sau đó đến thành phố Darwin ở Bắc Úc. Và đây là lý do tôi vẫn trẻ, tôi biết rất nhiều về nước Úc và cũng biết một ít về thế giới. Và tôi luôn luôn muốn biết nhiều hơn. Và đây là lý do khi tôi về thành phố Adelaide và bắt đầu học ở trường đại học Adelaide, tôi rất muốn biết rất nhiều hơn về khu vực Đông Nam Á. Và tôi cũng muốn trong tương lai làm việc về vấn đề liên lạc với khu vực Đông Nam Á. Như vậy khi tôi bắt đầu học ở trường đại học Adelaide, tôi rất muốn chú ý về chính trị và lịch sử khu vực Đông Nam Á, và sau 1-2 năm tôi chú ý về nước Việt Nam. Như vậy khi tôi bắt đầu làm việc ở Bộ Ngoại giao, tôi rất muốn chú ý nhiều hơn về Việt Nam.
It's so great to be able to see, you know, you speak Vietnamese. You're really good at it, almost perfect, or 100% perfect, just like a Vietnamese person.
Và bây giờ tôi sẽ tiếp tục bằng tiếng Anh, được không? So after I had been at university for a few years and I developed a real interest in Vietnam, I was very lucky to be employed by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade and to start my career as a diplomat. And my first job working in the department was actually on the Indochina desk, which was at the time focusing on Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia. And so that led very naturally to my first posting being here in Hanoi. And that was the reason that I had the opportunity to study Vietnamese for a year before I started work here. So my career then took me from Vietnam back to Canberra. And I had subsequent postings in New York and Geneva, working on matters to do with the United Nations, which broadened my worldview and experience even more. And then I was very fortunate to be posted to Sri Lanka as Australia's High Commissioner there. And that was my first role as a head of mission, the head of an embassy or a High Commission. And so by the time the job in Vietnam opened up in a few years ago, I felt that I had the experience and I had the knowledge to apply to become the Australian ambassador to Vietnam. And I was very proud and privileged to end up in this role here.
In your view, what have been the highlights of the partnership between Vietnam and Australia?
Well, I think I'm very lucky to be posted to Vietnam right at this moment because our relationship is so broad. It covers every aspect of a bilateral relationship that you can think of, from our strategic partnership, which reflects the fact that Vietnam is becoming an increasingly important strategic partner for us in the Indo-Pacific region, and we share an interest in building a stable and prosperous region. So there's that aspect of the relationship, and then you run right across every aspect you can think of through defence and security cooperation to economic and trade cooperation, which is particularly important at the moment as we look towards the future of Vietnam in the post-COVID environment. And then elements like education, which has always been the bedrock of our relationship with Vietnam. And again, that's all about people. It's about allowing Vietnamese students to go to Australia to study, and increasingly for Australians to come here as well. And that builds understanding, it builds partnership, and it builds the future of the relationship. We also have some really interesting aspects of our engagement with Vietnam. We have a lot of agriculture and agricultural research, which has been a long-standing feature of the relationship. And in more recent years, we've focused on knowledge and innovation. And that really is where we're starting to look towards the future of the relationship and really focus on what the next generation of Australians and Vietnamese have got to give to each other and give to the relationship. And I might just say how encouraging and how exciting it's been for me to come back and be the ambassador when the relationship looks like that, because I've seen the journey from 25 years ago and more to the point that we reach today. When I first worked here in Vietnam in the early 1990s, we had a good, strong, long-standing partnership and relationship, which was just starting to enter education and was building on our development partnership and many other aspects, but it has progressed so far in the last 25 years, and to be leading such a diverse and broad relationship is a real privilege, and it says a lot to me about the wonderful partnership that we have. It's based on a long period of time. We've been with Vietnam from the very beginning, and so we have continuity, we have history.
And what's your message to Vietnamese youths today, since you're on a show watched by thousands and thousands of youths in Vietnam?
Obviously say that Australia is a wonderful place to get an education, that by studying through Australian institutions, whether onshore or remotely in the pandemic environment, you can gain a lot of the skills that are relevant to the business of diplomacy. And they involve things like that broad vision that I've mentioned. They involve things like critical and analytical thought and the ability to be strategic and to respond and navigate in the challenging world that we find ourselves in. They are the sort of skills that come through any degree through an Australian institution, and they're the sorts of things that more than anything I would recommend that young people think about. You need to be future ready, you need to be equipped to deal with the world that we have, and in the post-pandemic environment when Australia will continue to work with Vietnam to support you on your journey of development.
And since you're a professional diplomat, what is your advice for young people wanting to go into the field? What should they study? What kind of personality should they develop for themselves? What kind of experiences should they seek?
It's an interesting question these days because coming into the profession of diplomacy in the 21st century is a little bit different to when I entered it in the 1990s. Back then it was more of a traditional focus on politics and historical knowledge and economic knowledge. These days anyone can come into the profession as a diplomat because, going back to what I just said, we have such a broad partnership. So we need experts in education, we need experts in agriculture, we need experts in science and innovation. So my advice is that if you feel that you want to serve your country internationally and you feel that you have something that you can contribute, then focus on those skills. And then when you go to apply for a job in diplomacy, you've got a lot more to bring to the table. You can put your case that as a scientist or an innovator or indeed a political expert, you've got something that will help contribute to Vietnam's relations with the world. That's the way it certainly works in the Australian system at the moment. So with that in mind, I would encourage anyone who's got an interest in diplomacy to focus on their strengths. Of course, you need international knowledge. It doesn't hurt to have a knowledge of international languages as well, but you should focus on what you individually bring to the job. Because to me, diplomacy is about, perhaps more than any other profession, it's about being yourself and bringing what you have to the table so that you can build relationships of influence and do good for your country. So if you feel that you're a person who likes to build relationships, if you have an interest in people and people-to-people links, and then you have some other skills, I would encourage you to focus on those and think about what the package is that you bring to the profession. In terms of your study at university, I think it doesn't hurt to be either broad or specialist. But what really matters to me is a knowledge of the broader world and being able to demonstrate that you have engaged with the world, that you're interested in what lies beyond your own horizons, and that you understand that we live in a globalised world and that that's where the business of diplomacy takes place. And one more thing I might just note is that in the post-pandemic world, we are really going to have a need for experts who can operate in new and different ways, and particularly those with a digital knowledge and innovative knowledge who understand that you can conduct the business of diplomacy face-to-face, which is the traditional way, and I still think that's very important, but also through many, many different platforms and using different tools. So people who are part of the 21st century and have that innovative digital knowledge, I think, will do very well in any profession, but particularly, I think, diplomacy.
So thank you for sharing with us your very personal story and for the insightful comments and advice that you have for our young audience. And I wish you and your family stay safe during the pandemic.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, and I wish all of your audience the very best of luck in the future.
I understand Khánh Vy is in the studio at the moment, and I'm super curious, Tùng, to kind of see. You've experienced it. I have no idea what it looks like. So shall we take a glimpse at the studio and ask our friend Khánh Vy to show it to us?
Hi everyone, hi chị Phoebe, hi Thie Tùng, and welcome to IFO Season 7. You guys might be a little bit jealous of me because this season I'm gonna be the one to mở bát the show as the last season too, and we are here in the control room where everything magical happens, even during this pandemic time, that I know that we can believe we can get over this all together. And here we are. I'm gonna show you guys a very, very interesting thing. It's worth of looking forward to, and that is the studio. We're gonna discover the studio, and let's see. Welcome to IFO Season 7. Welcome to the brand new studio, brand new atmosphere, energy, vibe, and a brand new name. We no longer call the show IO's Face Off, but please call us from now on IFO Nightly Show. And here is a very beautiful, amazing spot where we're gonna have a lot of performances and voice of the week and challenges with the guests, so much more to interesting. And please move on to a little, cozy spot here with this red chair, very comfy. We're gonna have a fun talk, close conversations with our guests and with our host, chị Phoebe and Thie Tùng. And the lighting here is very good. We have the red that is very familiar with IFO and a little bit of greenery elements to spice it up a little bit. So yep,
what a very, very unique situation. At the moment, I didn't have a chance to experience the new studio yet, but the studio sounds and looks really cool. And I can't believe we're having live music this season. So, it's a wonderful thing to be experiencing and enjoying all of that right here from the comfort of my home. Welcome back to IFO Nightly Show. We are here. The topic today is Back with Love, as we are co-produced by obviously BTV7 and the Australian government. Today we're going to bring back some of your memories, and some of these people have been on TV. You've seen them, you've followed their journey, and they are former winners of đường, Olympia, the road to the Olympia peak.
22 years. What history! More than 1,000 laurel wreaths have been given. derived from the desire to create a knowledge playground where Vietnamese students can show their knowledge, will, and bravery. The Leading Olympia is not only a favorite rendezvous of many audiences, but also a common home for contestants who have participated in the game show. Each competition is a fierce contest among opponents to find the worthy champion. And now, on the first episode of IFO Season 7, there will be a reunion of the champions. Phan Mạnh Tân, Road to Olympia Peaks Champion 2001, working at IBM. Lê Việt Hà, champion of Road to Olympia Peak 2007, is now the managing director of Pizza 4P. The youngest and the only female contestant in the race, Phạm Ngọc Oanh, champion of the Road to Olympia Peak 2011. She earned the highest level of CFA degree. Let's welcome them to IFO Nightly Show.
Wow, hi. I love this 5-frame. We have our former Olympia winners right here. Hi guys, Phan Mạnh Tân, Hà Lê, and Oanh Phạm. Hello, so nice to see you. All right, so nice to have everybody, have you guys here on the same screen. I know, Hà Lê, you right now are in Vietnam, and then Tân and Oanh, you are in Australia still. How's everything been going on for you so far?
Hi Phoebe, we're doing pretty okay. We are still in the middle of the pandemic. We're in the 6th lockdown in Melbourne. We're working from home. My wife and myself working from home. The kids are also doing online learning, but I guess we get used to it, and life goes on.
Thank you for sharing. Oanh, what about you? And what about you, Ha?
For me, I'm currently living in Sydney, and honestly, at the moment, Sydney has been going through the worst COVID outbreak ever, and I've been in lockdown for over a month already, and this situation is expected to continue for another month if the vaccination rate doesn't reach a certain level. Yeah. But I'm all fine. I'm working from home, so my job is not affected, but I'm worried for everyone else.
And Hale, I've been a big fan of you since I first saw you on TV, and you haven't aged a day. So give us a little update about what has been going on in your life.
Yeah, obviously I'm here in Saigon, so things are obviously very tough right now, as we probably all seen on the news. So cases are very high, even though it's been quite stable, and vaccinations are getting faster and better. However, obviously, lives in Ho Chi Minh city is very tough right now. Many of my, people in my company currently having to be off work, and that is very challenging for everyone. But I think things are picking up with vaccination, and hopefully it'll be back to normal soon.
Yeah, it's a really special situation that we have here in this time and age, and I'm glad that everybody, at the moment is safe. When we think about Olympia, right? Even if we Google the Leading Olympia, it's a lot of news shows up of the competition, but not a lot of news comes up with regards to you guys. Why the silence? How come you're not heavily featured in the media? Or any thoughts to that?
To be honest, I remember when I won the show in 2011. At that time, I was only 18 years old, and I remember I received both positive and negative feedback from the media, the online community at the time. And I wasn't equipped to deal with such things. I have always been living a sheltered life, a peaceful life, thanks to my parents. So because of that, I chose to live a quiet life, to avoid the negativity from the media. So that's why I went MIA after winning the show.
So you guys all have studied in Australia, and Olympia is basically the stepping step towards your journey over there. So tell us a little bit about when you first started to go to Australia.
Were you scared? Was your English good? Did you have to learn everything from scratch? What was the experience? Let's start with somebody who's probably the oldest in this group. Then you did this many years ago. What was your experience like? I think this was before internet was very rampant in Vietnam, right?
In the way, I started learning how to use the internet in Australia. So I did have some limited exposure to the internet back home, but I mean, to really learn how to use it for my study and my work is really in Australia. My English was pretty average back then. It still is today, but I mean, probably a little bit improvement since then. I still speak English with a pretty strong Harting accent, and I still do these days. So that's probably from that perspective.
And what about you, Oanh? You most recently went to Australia. What was your experience like? Were you afraid? Were you able to communicate well already?
I still remember it was a pretty cold day. And I was picked up from the airport by my university's bus. The streets was not as crowded as I thought. And even the neighborhood where I lived, I rented, it was so quiet that I could even hear chicken sound during lunchtime. My English at that time was pretty terrible. I only learned English for 1 year before arriving to Australia, and my professor at uni could barely understand what I said. But they were really patient. So it was not that hard for me to study. Yeah.
And what about you, Ha? What were some of your first memories when you arrived?
Basically, my first impression of Australia is that generally things are far apart. I came from a small town. It only takes me 5 minutes on a bike to go to school. But there I basically walked and took the tram for almost 40 minutes to get to school and 40 minutes back every day.
So that was a long walk, especially in winter.
And also the second thing is that thing was quite pricey. I remember my godmom took me to a market, and I remember I bought a banana, and I remember the banana one was $2.40. $2.40 for a banana I thought was outrageous. But anyway, that was the first experience of Australia, and I thought, things took longer to get to and also more expensive. Interesting place. Anyway, obviously, getting used to things took some time, but obviously. When I got to know Melbourne a little bit more, the cafe scenes, the food and the life was actually also very enjoyable. Yeah.
Now the key message for this season, and Tung, you probably have mentioned this multiple times, and it is shine with Australia. What are some of your most memorable, I would say, experiences in Australia? If you were to just summarize it into one sentence.
Yeah, the thing about me is I'm a family man, and the thing I do like about Australia is if you are a family man, it is the great environment for you to be, because I do want to say, for example, I wanna grow up with my kids. I want to be friends with them. I want to share as many experiences as possible with them, and I want to be. I guess because I grew up being very close to my dad. We play sport together, we play badminton and soccer together, and I wanted the same experience with my kids. So in Australia, I wanted to continue that with my kids, and I do feel that if you want to do that with your children, it is quite easy in Melbourne in particular, because say you want to go out and play soccer, do you want to go out and do a bike ride with them in the many wonderful bike paths that you have. There's so many things surrounding you. You got the beaches, you got the mountain, you got the city. So it's not like, if you want to bring up a family and you want to be a good dad and share a lot of good time with your children, then I do feel that having that in Australia is probably easier, I guess, compared with other places in the world. But the other things also, as well, just being a Vietnamese in here, we do have a very big Vietnamese community. So I was astonished to find out that we have 100,000 plus Vietnamese background. I mean, Vietnamese people in here, being either local or migrants, and I do feel that a lot of foods or things in here that Vietnamese things that I first discovered here rather than back home. Of a lot of like all the southern dishes and even like bún bò Huế or all those things.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you. And how you decided to go back to Vietnam, right? We're in the same boat because I made that decision as well in 2012. Not from Australia, from another country. But yeah, why? Why did you decide to go back to Vietnam?
Coming back here, I thought, as I shared earlier, to me, Vietnam represents a growth market. I think Australia being obviously one of the old sort of economy, growing at 2% per year, not so young population. The work that I've done in Australia is primarily, heavy industry that had been invested for a long time. And so here, Vietnam represents a much bigger and more interesting consumer market with many things that are new. And I think that just more exciting. And actually, probably there's a lot more competition here, which makes it interesting, I think. And as I share, I agree, food in Melbourne is very good, as also Vietnamese food. But I must admit, I can tell you for sure that coming back here is 10 times better when it comes to food. So I know it's good in Melbourne, but it's very good here.
Yeah, absolutely. Any memorable summary, to share with regard to your experience in Australia? You've shared a lot already, but
yeah,
we want to hear more.
I think that I have a lot of memorable experiences in Australia, I have to admit. But like when I was talking about like work and everything in Australia, I actually something crossed my mind. Like I would say one of when I secured my first permanent role, I was working in that company for 1.5 years, nearly 2 years, and they actually organized end of financial year. They organized a company trip to Hamilton Island. And then, even the airplane ticket and everything, accommodation, all paid by the company. And we have a lot of, teamwork, team building activities. And I really love that experience, traveling with everyone in the company, get to see the personal side, the people you work with, and, and enjoy the nature of Australia. So beautiful, like Hamilton Island. You guys must go there. And I even Australians, I know a lot of my Australian friends, and they say, oh, they want to go there for honeymoon, or yeah. So so Australia is really beautiful, that I could say.
Yeah, well, you had an early honeymoon with your company. What a fantastic thing to do. And it prefaces us to a perfect section in the IFO, and that is with the IFO band. So Tùng Đặng, take it away.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be present for a couple of taping sessions, and I can certainly attest to the coolness of the new set and the excitement brought to you by the IFO band. That's definitely a feature that I'm really hoping that we will keep in the next season, because they're pretty awesome.
Yes, Phoebe, I'm here. I'm in the studio, but the best thing is that I'm not alone. I'm accompanied by our amazing first time ever band on the show, IFO Band. Yay! Shall we have a little introduction to the audience, starting with Anh Minh?
Hi, I'm Minh Huỳnh and I'm the guitarist.
Amazing sound. I love your guitar. And I can hear another amazing sound over there, our percussionist.
Hi, I'm Khánh Vy and I play the cajon.
I'm so happy to have you here. It's our pleasure. And how could I forget and miss our second runner-up of Vietnam Idol, a very familiar face of VTV7, Mikey.
Hi, it's Mikey. I'm pleasure to be here, and we are IFO.
thank you so much for spending time with us and being a very important part of the show in this season. Apart from being talented, a very active young person, what do you do for a living?
Actually, I am now a marketer thanks to COVID, but I have always wanted to be a performer, an artist, and that's why I'm so thankful to be right here, right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And guys, you know, the reason why we have the band here, the very first time ever in IFO show, we have music, we have performance, we have performers, is that we are born and raised with music. We learn with music, we grow with music, and music brings us closer. And we do hope that we can learn English with music too. Is that a good idea?
Yeah.
Definitely, we have prepared quite a bit for this very first performance on the show, and we hope that this song will amaze you. It will not disappoint you. So, shall we start? Let's do it. Hi guys, the melody familiar enough? IFO band, our vocalist Mikey. Let's do it.
I've been hiding too long in my corner. Why do I spend days you fear and ponder? What is rough is so tough, and they weigh my spirits down. But the rocks make up the mountains, they will also be my crown. My dreams, they don't shine like bright stars.
Bright stars.
I keep my faith that day is not far. Don't you worry, wipe your fears, and your wings will finally fly. Bit of faith, a bit of me, will make miracles come true. Face up, you can win against the odds. Face it, be brave when times get hard. Have faith and passion, it won't fail you. Be ready for your dreams and to reach the seas and skies.
Girl, you're the miracle, and boy, you're incredible. IFO show will be making you unbeatable. Your love, the strength, just strive and go the lane. Against the odds, speak your dreams, and you'll know what your future means.
The odds. Face it, be brave when times get hard. Have fashion, fashion won't fail you.
Will never fail you.
Be ready for your dreams and to come on. Face up, you can win against the odds.
So yes, you can.
Face it, be brave when times get hard.
Yes, you're the miracle.
Woo! We've just kicked off new season of IFO with our familiar theme song, Be the Miracle. I'm so happy because finally I got to stand here and sing our theme song with a new arrangement from the IFO band.
Great. So I think we're gonna meet each other again with a lot of more interesting things in the upcoming episodes. So thank you so much, IFO band. And for me, I have a lot more mission ahead, so stay tuned.
Let's take a break with our facts. Do you know that Australia is the home to some great innovators? Some of the earliest inventors were Australian Aboriginal population who invented the boomerang some 10,000 years ago. In the 20th century alone, Australian inventors were churning out products that we still use on a regular basis today. Notepads, black box, flight recorder, and the power strip. And now, be ready for the next part of IFO Show.
Hello everyone up there. Hello again to Phoebe, and welcome everyone back to IFO Challenge. Actually, the first IFO Challenge of this season. And today we not only have competitors, we actually have some champions up there, so I'm feeling the pressure.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be 3 rounds, and you're gonna be familiar with all of these 3 rounds names. First of all, it's khởi động, vượt chướng ngại vật, and Tăng Tốc, and obviously Vedic at the end. And this is going to be a very fun challenge. We have some great content, great questions that's coming right up. So are we ready just to start the game? Another round of đường, Olympia, IFO style. So the rule of the game is, you only have about 10 seconds to answer each question, and for each question that you do answer successfully, remember I said successfully, I did not say correctly. So for each question you answer successfully, you're going to get 10 points, and then for the second round of then if you answer the vertical word, then it's going to be 40 points. So are we clear on all the rules?
Are you ready?
Okay.
With the Road to Olympia Peak IFO version, the rules have been modified a little bit. Our contestants must answer the question successfully. I said successfully, not correctly, in order to earn 10 scores for each question. And the questions are, not really tough, but surely trickier than they expect.
Okay, wonderful. You earned 40 points. Congratulations.
And for the first round, khởi động, Halle got 40 points, Quang Phạm got 30 points, and Mike Tân 40 points. Now, moving on to next round, vượt chướng ngại vật. Their obstacle will be crossword. Questions in this round are quite a piece of cake for our champions. Each of the contestants must choose a road, then listen to the clues from the show to guess the word. One precise answer will bring them 10 points, and at any time, anyone can guess the column word with 40 points reward for a successful try. But if you're wrong in the one and only column word, you will lose your chance for other row words. Here comes the words being guessed and revealed. They are indeed talented contestants. But we have a guess for column word. And it is from Halle. CHAMPION. That's the correct answer. The champion is the hidden word. And with this dare to try, Halle got 40 points added. And till this round of the game, let's look at the scoreboard. Quang
30 points,
Halle
90 points,
Mike Tân
50 points.
For the full competition of those 3 Olympia champions, check out our YouTube and Facebook. But now, be ready for the next round, Tăng Tốc, acceleration.
We're moving on to Tăng Tốc, and in this episode of Tăng Tốc, or in this section of Tăng Tốc, you're going to get 100 points for any question that you guess correctly. And if you do guess wrongly, well, it's a complete removal of all of your points so far. So the rule has changed, and the rule is a little bit brutal in my personal opinion. But we got to play with what we have. So Tăng Tốc, let's get started. Who wants to go first? Let's go with Tân. So Tân, are you ready for Tăng Tốc?
Sure.
Okay, so the question is, what can be broken but is never held?
Is it promise?
Yes, promise is the correct answer. How did you even guess promise? I have no idea. It's 100 points for you. Congratulations.
That's probably the privilege of being a dad.
How did he guess this? All right, so the second question goes to
I'm so not ready.
Our current highest scorer after then. So your question is, what can one catch that is not thrown?
I would suppose a virus.
Judges, what do you think? Okay, so the third question goes to Oing and Oing. Your question is, what are the 2 things that people never eat before breakfast?
That's just a view. Why? I'm gonna send you a message. No, just joking.
Cheating in iPhone Nightly Show is not allowed, but collaboration is.
I will just listen to and then like it's lunch and dinner.
Bravo! So we have 100 points for wine with a little assist from anh Tân.
Hey guys, the moral of the game just now, as you've seen, we did not have a Vedic section. And the reason for that is, you know, in this modern day and age, and in real life, a game always happens every day. And we're always in the process of going to our final destination, our final personal goal. And the moral of the story is, there are 3 elements in which we want to highlight. The first is definitely creativity. The way we play the game in this day and age is going to be very, very different from how we played the game 20 years ago. Second of all, it's collaboration. You know, there is opportunities for collaboration at every turn of the corner. And if we are open-minded to turn competition into collaboration, to turn possibly what people might say cheating into collaboration, then we would probably be collectively better off. So collaboration is another important moral of the story from the competition today. And obviously, you know, it is creativity. In order for us to always better ourselves and be a better force in the world today, it's about innovation, it's about creativity. Education gives us that. Listening and learning from other people gives us that. And obviously this game, even though it's Leanne Olympia turned into I Let You Fool, we're just trying to be creative with the game here, right? So all of these elements we hope you do enjoy. And guys, you know, as we go into the Vedic section of the game today, what is basically your goal, you know, your immediate goal in the next couple of years that you can share with our audience today?
Well, to be honest, I haven't figured out my passion yet. So up to now, I have been working in financial services sector, and after my the work, the project I'm currently working in will end in late next year, and then after that I will have to figure out what I'm truly passionate about, what I want to do, whether I want to, you know, do a master degree, and you know, that's something. So I hope that in the near future, in the next few years, I will figure out my path at that point in time.
Thank you for sharing, and your path seems like a very, very interesting path as well. Thank you for highlighting it to us. So what is your Vedic in the next couple of years?
I just say, really appreciate what you said about there's no finish line per se, but rather it's a continuous improvement and getting better and getting challenged process, and I'm very, very aligned with that. I think for me, immediately in the next couple of years is, as I said, I'm part of a really amazing company. We're going through some tough period of time now. So for us, it is getting through this and sort of rebuilding it together with the, you know, with the society, rebuilding what has been sort of put on hold or sort of lost during that this period, and rebuilding for the better, and you know, for better lives for our partners, our team. I think that's something I really do enjoy. I really enjoy being where I am today, and yeah, rebuilding and getting, you know, sort of that will be fun for me over the next couple of years.
Thank you, Ha. And what about you, anh Tân?
In the next couple of years, career-wise, I would hope to be able to set up my own company and establish some partnership with Vietnam, because I do believe that we have a lot of opportunities in Vietnam, and we do have a very talented workforce. Family-wise, I am hoping that my kids will grow up, be curious, so that they can learn so many things, and be happy and enjoy life. And finally, I'm hoping that the pandemic would truly be over, and border will be opened, and we can start traveling again, because I do really miss my mom and dad, and I'm so looking forward to the moment that I can see them again.
So former Olympia winners, thank you for coming by and allowing us to relive a part of our childhood memories for the people that are millennials. So thank you, and take care.
Thum, and I'm here completing my mission as I mentioned earlier. I'm at home, and you guys might always see me traveling everywhere to film IELTS on the go, but during this social distancing and quarantine, we cannot travel, so we have IFO stay at home. Staying at home doesn't mean that, you know, we have to stop doing what we often do, because we still have the internet, we still have the creativity, and we are here with our crew through my laptop and internet, and today we're gonna connect with a very, you know, amazing, fantastic guest who is from Australia, and she has a very close connection with Vietnam, specifically Vietnamese education, helping a lot of Vietnamese young people achieving their dreams. So let's connect with Leanne Dowler. Here we go. Hi Leanne, thank you so much for being in the show. How are you doing?
Doing okay, of course in lockdown with everyone else, so doing things to keep myself busy, but yes.
So happy to hear that. You are safe and sound here. So first off, would you, have a little bit introduction to the audience?
About myself? Sure. My name's Leanne Dowler, and I've lived in Vietnam for 9 years now, which is a really long time. And I came to Vietnam because I wanted to live somewhere in Asia. And so we chose Vietnam. I came with my husband, and Vietnam was where we decided to come.
Amazing. You know, it amazed me to listen to your story, of you and your husband coming to Vietnam, because you hosted a lot of international students in Australia. And then, what was the first time you came to Vietnam, and why did you decide to move to Vietnam?
So we, over a number of years, actually hosted exchange students with our family, and we hosted 23 exchange students over 11 years, and in a voluntary capacity with our family. And my husband and I wanted to go on exchange. We wanted to get the opportunity to live somewhere else for a period. So we looked around at where we might like to live, and Asia was definitely an option. We thought we might be able to teach English or something like that. And we looked at Vietnam, but I'd never been here before. My husband had never been here before. And he had the opportunity to go on a business trip, and he added 3 days onto his trip and came to Ho Chi Minh City and stayed there for 3 days. At the end of that 3 days, which he absolutely loved, he didn't want to come home. So he had to, and he came home to me and told me how amazing it was. And so we decided that we would do our CELTA course to teach English as a second language. And we decided to do that with Apollo in Ho Chi Minh City. And it's a 1-month program. So we booked that in, and we both came over and spent the month doing our CELTA course in Ho Chi Minh City. And after the end of that course, I didn't want to go home either. I really love Vietnam. So this is the place we decided to come. So we went back to Australia, and we had to pack up our things and finish our jobs. And it took us actually 1 more year to come back to Vietnam. And then finally in 2012, we arrived in August in Ho Chi Minh City and started our adventure.
So what are, you're living in Vietnam for 9 years, and I know that your house is decorated with so many Vietnamese stuff and elements. Can you show us around a little bit? A mini tour of your house.
Sure. I'd like to start with this beautiful painting that's behind me, and this is by Nho Van Sac, who's a famous Vietnamese artist. And in actual fact, he usually puts himself into the picture, and that's actually him right there. And you can see that there's carving as well as painting. And very amazingly, we asked the art gallery if the artist might consider putting our actual Vietnamese phone numbers actually onto the painting, and he said yes. So we've actually got our phone numbers on there. He's actually re-authenticated it, took another photo and re-authenticated that this is an original painting by him. Another thing that I really love and that I've bought is actually a shutter door outside here. You can see I actually bought that from Saigon and got it sent up to Hanoi where we live, and I just think it so much shows the look of Vietnam, and the colour's beautiful. And so I will proudly take that to my home in Australia when we leave. I have, of course, the things that that everybody in Vietnam always purchases, which is the water puppets. So I have my my water buffalo, and I think it's the princess, is this one, so the dancing princess, which I've actually featured in some singing videos that I've shared with people, so it's quite entertaining.
Your house is more Vietnamese than my house, honestly. I mean, coming to your house, we couldn't imagine that, you know, a foreigner is living here. So many Vietnamese elements, and just looking at those pictures and like water puppet things, I can tell that you love Vietnam a lot, and I just want to say thank you so much for that. And I know that you're also, you know, working in NGO that is helping underprivileged children in accessing to education. So can you tell us more about your job and activities about that?
Certainly. So when I moved to Hanoi in 2014, my husband moved roles to a role in Hanoi, and I had the opportunity to do some volunteering at that time. So I looked around for where I wanted to volunteer and where I wanted to spend my time. And we were actually invited to a graduation for Kodo, which is a school for disadvantaged youth. They also had the restaurant on Van Mule, Kodo restaurant. And it's a 2-year program where disadvantaged students go through the program, and they actually get a certificate from Australia in either cooking or front of house training. And I fell in love with the organisation when I went to this graduation. I'm like, I want to work there. And coincidentally, at the same time, they also needed a volunteer coordinator, and I'd also done that job in Australia, so it was a perfect fit. So I went and helped at Kodo for actually 4.5 years, a really long time. I just worked part-time with them, so helping out in a volunteer capacity, and mostly doing the volunteer coordination, but also helping with fundraising. We raised funds to send groups of students on a trip each year. So I had fundraising dinners to invite all my friends to, and that sort of thing. So that was a really lovely time, and it's been a really lovely experience and something nice to be part of.
Thank you very much, Leanne, for joining the show. I mean, thank you so much for all of the inspiring and motivating stories and your advice as well. And I look forward to seeing you in real life, face-to-face, you know, interactions. And I might ask you a lot more questions about Australia too.
Thank you so much for having me on the program.
Thank you very much. Have a good day and take care.
We've had a lot of content this episode. You know, we've had the ambassador, we've spoken to former Olympia winners, and all of them have kind of, you know, given us a glimpse into their own lives, allowed us into their own homes and into their minds. And I think that's really a fortunate situation for us in this pandemic. As I'm staying at home, you know, I am talking to you guys through a phone camera. I still feel very connected, and maybe even more connected because it's so much easier for people to be relaxed in the comfort of their home, and for us to have just a fantastic conversation. Tung, what are your thoughts?
Usually, you're absolutely right. Usually the viewers are the people who are relaxed, but this season we can afford to be relaxed as well. So in that sense, we are indeed a little bit closer to our viewers. We're not on, you know, the IFO nightly show set anymore, unfortunately, but you know, at the same time, it's a different vibe. I'm not complaining. And this season definitely started with a bang. The first episode we featured, you know, some very decorated, very accomplished, distinguished guests. You know, Olympians and the Australian ambassador to Vietnam, as you mentioned. So yeah, I think this is going to be a very promising season.
Yeah, and it's so great. You know, it's back with love. Definitely a lot of love from everybody, right? Tung, Khánh Vy, Thảo Tâm, myself, and the crew. So I'm feeling a lot of love right there. So yeah, the love doesn't end just with this episode. We have a lot more coming this season, and we're doing it twice a week. So I'm excited for the next episode as well.
Yeah, we're going to
take care, guys.
We're going to love in installments. So see you guys very soon in the next episode of IFO Nightly Show.
Bye. Enjoy your time at home.
Cheerios.
Hi guys, my name is Chang Yong and welcome to the very first IFO highlight of season 7. So the theme of this season is Shine with Australia and the topic of today's episode is Back with Love. So basically in this section I'm going to summarize some words and phrases during the show that are worth remembering. Obviously, there are a lot of words related to the COVID-19 pandemic. First of all, we have Directive 16, which is issued by the Prime Minister and then applied in lots of provinces of Vietnam. And next up, we have the new normal, which is a situation that used to be unusual, but is now what you should expect. In this case, it literally means the new life that people have to adapt to because this pandemic is not going away soon. That's also the reason why the show has been produced online in a COVID-19 friendly way and in a COVID-19 appropriate setting in the comfort of the crew's own home. IELTS on the go has also been transformed into IELTS stay at home. In the talk with the first guest, Ambassador Robin Moody, we also learned one interesting word, bedrock. When you say something is the bedrock of a relationship, you're saying it is a strong base for that relationship. We also had the chance to chat with the former winners of the Road to the Olympia pic and learn such words as rampant, meaning existing or spreading everywhere in a way that cannot be controlled. Phoebe said that the internet is rampant in Vietnam, that's to say it is extremely widespread in Vietnam. Before the show ends, we had another guest, Miss Leanne Dowler. She's working in an NGO, which stands for a non-governmental organization. She's working hard to help the underprivileged, that is, those having less money and fewer opportunities than most people in the society. And that just about wraps it up for today. I hope you had a well of a time watching the show and learned lots of new words and phrases. And don't forget to stay tuned for the next episode of IFO Nightly Show. See ya!